So Scopely has given us the opportunity to speak about the Envoys playtest with Battleworld. Interestingly enough, we didn't playtest it just once. We had two iterations that we were able to look at. We also had a question and answer session, a feedback session with some of the developers on the Battleworld team. Super excited. Super excited. This is great information. We're going to try to wrap all this up together, see what you guys think about it, see if we can get some feedback on the game so far. If you're excited, not what changes could be made. Now, the initial playtest, we started at level 75. Not bad, right? They said that the game would come out for those at level 75, so they kind of wanted to test that out. Would you actually be able to get through the sections? And we were. We did. We were able to get through the sections with accounts at level 75. We didn't have special characters like Apocalypse and things like that. So it's just, we had a lot of characters. That is a point to keep in mind. We did have a lot of characters. In real life, newer accounts are not going to have that depth of roster, and Battleworld is meant in a sense to challenge your depth of roster. So in reality, newer accounts aren't going to have that. But when you get to where you have about 4 or 5 active teams, you should be good. You should be able to get through the content. We were able to do it. We were able to get from the beginning, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, get up to the battle with null. That was part of the test. Could that be done with level 75 characters? Another point right along those lines to keep in mind, another thing that was tested is how would an alliance work together to have success? I'm not sure how many envoys there are. There's definitely less than 24, right? There's 24 members in an alliance. There's definitely less than that, probably about half that amount. And still, we were able to get through. The playtest also took place at the same time there was a lot going on in game in real life. So I believe it was about the same time that the last iteration of Tower came, the last Kiln Tower. I think the playtest was happening at that exact same time. And if I understand correctly, I think there was some real world things going on as well. I don't know if it was like the last weekend before school started back up or something like that. People were definitely busy, and they voiced that this was going to be a very busy time of year. The reason why that still makes for a good playtest is because we were able to complete it. Everybody was not able to participate at the same rate. Some people, they said they were not going to be able to engage with the content for multiple days in a row. So even though we had a small group of people, we were still able to move the days forward. And that's a good thing, right? That's a good thing. You don't need much. You do need effort, but you don't need much. A few people that are really going to be engaged, that are really going to push in their alliance, can make sure to move the content forward. And I think that is a good thing. That's obviously not the same thing as a leaderboard score, right? That's a different thing. Moving the content forward so you can score, get your resources, and get to null. That in itself being relatively easy, that is a good thing. The leaderboard things and the other items that come along with scoring high, again, that's a different conversation. And that's fine, right? That's fine. So level 75, we were able to make it all the way through, even though we didn't have a full alliance. Good thing. I think that's a win for the community. One of the things that happened during the test, the bad guys did seem a little bit I've been struggling trying to find a good word. Spongy is the word I keep coming to mind. That's more like a first person shooter thing, right? Where you can just hit enemies and they just keep taking hits. It was kind of like that. And that in itself wasn't an issue, but there was this mini boss style character that came into the game, Morbius, right? I think it was kind of like 'tis the season. So Morbius, he drops in and he had 4 stacks of immunity, defense up, safeguard. All right. He's a problem. He got evades, 4 stacks. So it took 4 turns before you could actually get a hold of him, unless you're able to hit hard. It kind of gave me the nostalgia, like if you play MMOs or things like that, of those mini bosses. It kind of gave me that nostalgia. I thought it was kind of cool, but I know other people did not like it. I know people didn't like it. I get that. I understand that. Everybody doesn't play the game the way I play the game. In those other style of games, you kind of get that nostalgia because you can see when one of your teammates gets a really big hit, right? Or they receive a really big hit, the healer heals them back up, or they're able to deflect, take no damage at all. When you can see that as a team, like that's cool. But obviously in Battleworld, you're not seeing actively on the screen what other people are doing. So it kind of slogs the process down. In my mind, that's what he's for. He drops in the middle of this wave, and whether you get to the second half of the wave or not is how well are you able to deal with them. But it did slow the game down. It was a, a pain. I can agree with that. So the feedback was given in that regard. Now, concerning the feedback, that was an amazing experience as well. Okay, because we sat down with the developers, right? We sat down with the developers of the Battleworld team. I had a question and answer discussion, and the individual that really took the lead in that, like that cat, that was amazing, right? If you're watching, thank you. Thank you so much. That was amazing to have that opportunity. He sat back, he listened to the feedback, he asked questions, and right, he allowed some time to go through it, and then he kind of gonna have some coughing fits. We'll be editing those out, hopefully. So we had some feedback, and he kind of got to the point where, right, he didn't drop it initially, but then he started later on. He kind of talked a little bit about his pedigree, right? Reason why that's important. He wasn't trying to overly impress us. He was just trying to say, hey, I'm a gamer, right? This is the stuff that I've played. This is the stuff that I've helped to make. So when we say things like, it feels like this, or I didn't like this for A and B reason, right? He understood that. It made sense. And that increased the dialogue back and forth at that point. So they play the game, and they're gamers out there. All right. They're gamers out there. So he was able to take some of that feedback and put that right into the next iteration of the playtest that we saw. Now, before we get into that, I just want to highlight the fact that there was Envoys in that room. There was a bunch of other people. I don't know who they were in the room. I don't know if they were other developers or other style of playtesters, things of that nature. There were also members of the player voice in the room. Okay. I'm not going to steal their thunder, but I just want to highlight something for a moment. A lot of times people say the player voice doesn't do anything. And again, hopefully I can say this. That's not true. All right. What an opportunity. What an opportunity you could have. Right? You could be on The Voice. Right? When they have their elections, why not get involved? You'll be able to sit down in a room with developers, talk, get an in-depth understanding of how the game is played, decisions that are made, and then you can give your opinion. And that does 100% help shape the game. It does. Scopely's listening. When people say Scopely's not listening, they're listening. If you have feedback about something, frame it, put it out there, especially, right, if you can make sure it's not safe for work language, make sure that's not there, and insults and things like that. But if you can frame it to promote understanding, they'll take that. And if they can incorporate it into the game, then they will. Right? So take those opportunities to make the game better. So whether you get involved with a player voice, the official Marvel Strike Force Discord, your favorite envoy, whoever that may be, keep giving the feedback to make the game better. They are definitely indeed listening. So what were some of the things that we talked about? The Morbius encounter was something that was talked about. So again, people didn't really like it. It felt like a waste of time, right? He just kind of slowed you down. And they got that. They got that feedback. And so what they did is they took it and evolved it into the Herald missions. Now, the Herald missions, they're more thematic, right? So we got Null coming into the game. It's like a mini boss. It's not actually Null. It's not going to look like him. It's not gameplay mechanics. It's stuff we've already seen, but it's more thematic to what's going on. So it's characters that we've seen before. They just have maybe some different mechanics. They have extra abilities, maybe like would you see like in earlier Dark Dimensions, or sometimes in the Incursion raid, they would give you a note, hey, this character has this special added ability. So it's things like that. It's the Herald mission. So that's now kind of a mini boss style mission. That'll be part of the Battleworld experience. Speaking of missions, let's cover the other two while we're thinking about it. Elite missions. So when we played initially, the elite missions, the characters you had available were Pegasus and Orcus. All right. Pegasus, and on the playtest initially, got like a 200% damage boost if you used them in that area. They didn't get that other places. It was just in that elite mission. So it kind of made you think, should I use my Pegasus? Or should I use the shiny new team, right? Or maybe I might need that shiny new team somewhere else. So I tried my best whenever I played to get by with the Pegasus, since they gave us the bonus. I thought that was part of the strategy, that hey, you get a bonus here, just like on some of the other nodes, as we'll see when Battleworld comes. There's times when you'll get different advantages for using certain types of characters or certain teams or things like that. So then that's the trade-off. Do I use the team that is going to get something extra, or do I need that team in another spot? The reason why I really want to talk about the elite missions briefly, right? We were able to get it done, but that's the node that has, like you've seen those graphics, that's the node that has the crystal on it, the purple ISO crystal. That appears to be one of the methods that your alliance is going to be getting purple ISO. So if you don't do anything else, if you find that you're not enjoying Battleworld, it's not really a cup of tea, and you just going to show up for one thing, then that's what you should show up for, because that's how you're going to give, one of the ways, I shouldn't say how, the whole game mode seems to be structured in different ways to give you purple ISO, but that is one of the ways that you'll be able to do it for your alliance. And everyone needs to participate to make sure the reward is as big as it can be. So if you're only going to do one thing, that's the one that you should do. There's some discussion of whether that team should be moved, maybe take Pegasus out and do something else. But I think I understand what they're trying to do, since that's where you're going to be getting the new hotness, right? The new premium currency. They want you to have to earn it. So here they're picking a team that you don't have yet, right? So again, if you look at the screen right now that they have on the Battleworld page on the website, it says Astral and Pegasus. So there's a team that you don't have access to, right? Team that I haven't seen. We didn't get a chance to use them. So you have Astral, and then you have an older team that isn't going to perform well, and that's where the incentive to purchase is, right? You can fast track a little bit your ability to get that new resource. Do not build your Pegasus team. Do not build. Like Gideon rarely says things like this. Do not build your Pegasus team. We didn't have a look at how the economy works. Not sure how the rewards actually work, right? I'm 100% guessing from what I saw, if I'm making sense. So do not build the team for that. We don't even know what we're building it for. But my guess, again, is it's starting out with something you don't have much of, and you're going to transition into the new team and get rewarded for having the new team. Okay. Do not build them at all. This is not a joke. Don't build them. I'm not even sure the juice would be worth the squeeze. We don't even know what the rewards. We didn't see everything we saw for rewards and stuff like that was all placeholders. So we didn't actually see how the rewards would work for the most part. So don't build a team. Don't build a team. Elite missions. If you don't do anything else, make sure you do that every day. Special missions where you send your people off to get rewards while you're sleeping, stuff like that. There wasn't really instructions on how that was going to work. We didn't really see the bonuses, and in the second playtest, it wasn't active. So I'm not 100% sure how that system is going to work. We'll have to see it when it goes live. I will say that it seemed like, at least at that time, it was kind of mentioned, did we need it? They were trying to see, did we need it to be able to move through every day? And we really didn't. It didn't seem. As I recall, this was a long time ago. Okay. This was a long time ago. So I don't remember everything. As I recall, and I could be mistaken, I think if I just sent some people out on the mission, that wasn't enough. You needed to have, let's say, 5 people to complete the mission. So you needed 5 members of the alliance to all send one person on that particular mission, if I'm making sense, if I remember correctly, to actually get the reward. So it's not one of those things where you can just say, well, I'm not using these guys. I mean, it is, but there will be some coordination. People have to at least all put characters in the right spot to get the rewards. Okay. Now, this is me just going off my memory. It was some time ago, so the details I might not have. Those are the different styles of missions. On the Battleworld page, There's 5 days, right? We're supposed to start, I think, on Monday. We're going to face off against Null on Saturday. So 5 days. Boss is the 6th day. And there's 5 missions, I think, on the Battleworld page right now. And I believe during the Q&A about things, screen time and whatnot, they removed one of those. So now you'll have your special mission, you'll have your Herald mission, and you'll have 2 other missions. Something else, just as we were playing, that came up, the Morbius thing kind of highlighted it, as well as just the fact that you're playing through these waves of characters. And just like in other game modes, waves of characters, when new cats drop in, their passives pop off. There's a bunch of your opponents doing things, powering up, stuff like that. That eats up time. So one of the things that they tried, they said, well, what would happen if, right? This came from the developer side. They said, hey, what would happen if we just turn the timer on when it's your turn? What if the clock only ticks when it's your turn? It doesn't click when the enemies are doing all their moves and backflips and stuff like that. It only ticks on your turn. Would you like that? So would you like that? I'm asking you that of the community. We saw it. We tried it. People seem to be in favor of it. I don't know if that's something that's going to go to the live game or not. But see, people seem to be in favor of it. So those were the different modes. Before I leave off the Q&A, I do want to mention one more thing about the developers. The gentleman who was taking the lead in that, again, hats off to you, my guy. Hats off to you. So about 2/3 of the way through the meeting, I really want to highlight this. It's important. About 2/3 of the way through the meeting, he kind of stopped everybody. And he said, hey, we're hearing a lot from the same people. I want to hear from the people that haven't spoken much, people that haven't had much to say. If you've already spoken, he wanted people to not speak. Right? That's huge. That's huge, right? Anybody who sat in the room with communicators, that's huge, because they actually want to hear. They want the feedback. Even if you agree with what other people said, they want to hear that you agree. Even if you didn't agree, if you had a small point that you wanted to bring out, they wanted to hear it. Huge, right? Because we all know how it is. You come into a room, there's some people that are just natural communicators, right? Some people, they talk like all the time. They're definitely comfortable talking, but everybody's not like that. Sometimes people are waiting for a pause in discussion and the pause never comes, right? It's not negative. We're not saying people are being chatty Cathys or anything. That's not what it is. It's just some people are more comfortable in a social setting and they're able to speak their mind, when other people might not be that way, even though they were there, they participated, they have valuable insight. So by him drawing those people out like that is huge. So again, Scopely wants to hear your feedback on things. Please just form it in a way that's constructive, actionable, and something that can be used. So when we got to the second playtest, we were able to use our real roster. They imported our real roster. So this is really what Gideon has, right? I'm an endgame player. I'm not the biggest endgame player, right? I'm not a whale or Kraken or anything. I'm probably average for people that have been playing the game for the amount of time. So we were very excited to see what our rosters could do, how they would handle that difficulty. So this was the second difficulty from maximum, right? So there's only one more difficulty above this. So we started the play test and we just dog walked it. Everything was auto smash, one hit knockouts. And I personally, I didn't like that. I want it to be a little more meaty. I want it to be a little more beefy, but I'm curious to know what your thoughts on that are. Are you the type of person that's what you want, is to just be able to drop in, auto the content and move on? Do you want it to be more engaging? Do you want there to be more strategy? I think there's definitely room for that. I don't know how close the game is to launching, so I don't know what changes, if any, can be made, but as it comes out, if you would like it to be different, then you need to say so, right? Because I think for me, I think that's something that could be adjusted in the same way that we have like more difficulties with raids and how they've added more difficulties to the scourges, right? If you could just keep turning the dial up. One individual said, he would like content that is difficult and unbeatable. So would you be in favor of that? So like right now, when we're playing Orcus raid on my alliance, my endgame alliance, we've been jumping between difficulty 2 and difficulty 3 here and there for the past month or so, because we're trying to get to where people can reliably punch through the mystic lane. That's the option right now. And we can't always do it. We can't do it with regularity. So we're kind of hopping in between, testing ourselves. And one day that day will come, right? And I think many people, I want content like that. I want to be able to keep turning the dial up until it's difficult, and also have the option to turn it back down when people are busy and things of that nature. So that's what I would like. Now, the developer did give a very important point, a point of warning. It was very important. He said, right, are you sure? Right. These were not his exact words. It was kind of like the "are you sure? Be careful what you wish for" kind of thing. Because this is now going to be, Battleworld is part of our daily experience. So yeah, day one, we might be excited and we want the challenge. We want some pushback. We want it to be hard, and we fight all the way through and we get to know. And right, we have that day off on Sunday, and then Monday it starts over. And there's a challenge and we fight through, get to know Saturday, and then Sunday, and then Monday it starts. Oh, right. So this is part of our daily experience. So do you want it to be challenging every day, or will it get stale? Will it get old? Right? Will people now not want to engage with the content? So that was a very good point, right? He knows that people are concerned about screen time. And screen time is a thing. So again, those are one of those things that the feedback on that is going to be important. Please comment. Please comment if you have any thoughts on that. That is going to be important. So maybe if no changes are made, like I said, I don't know how close we are to launch. If no changes are made, when it comes out, there'll be a leaderboard, maybe a season. I don't know how long that stuff lasts. So I would assume that there wouldn't be changes mid-season, but that's when feedback definitely can be given. And maybe the second season, some of that stuff can be implemented. So what about the fight with No? The boss fight itself was interesting, right? It was very different. And it was very different with the new player account than it was with the end game account. Not that it was overly tough. It was just you had different characters to choose from. And so again, that's part of the excitement. That's part of the enjoyment. So you talk with your alliance, right? So I hit them. I put up a score. I see what other people are doing. Well, how did you get that score? Well, this is who I used. Okay. Right. And then something similar with our end game roster, except we don't all have those characters, right? I don't have Mephisto. I don't have Odin. I don't have, 3 diamonds on my super scroll. So what I was able to do was different than what other people was able to do. In talking about team compositions, talking about team compositions and things like that, that was good. Lost my train of thought. It'll be different again for the end game rosters. When Astral comes out, they're probably going to be hitting the boss hard, but you still have 3 attempts. I believe it's 3. So I think you have 3 attempts at every node, and I think he counts. So I think it's 3 attempts at No to get the biggest and the cumulative highest score that you can cumulative. So even when Astro's in the game, you get 1 big hit with them if that's their role. I think that's their role. They had a bunch of percentile damage. So 1 big hit with Astro, and you still have 2 more hits that you want to get the most points as possible, because that's what's going to give your alliance more rewards, more leaderboard, more season points, stuff like that. So that's really my 2 cents, if you will, when it comes to Battleworld. I'm going to check my notes just to make sure. I got my notes here. All right. So that's my overall experience with Battleworld. I really want to know what you think about this. Ask some questions. There's some things we can probably discuss. Some of the embargoes and NDAs are being lifted. So there are some things we can actually discuss. So please ask some questions. And if you need some Battleworld prep, we did a couple videos on that. Stay tuned. Really excited about this game mode. Hopefully you will enjoy it as well.